NelsonJoypad.com bring you another original. It's fucking great.
Hello and welcome to Mouse and Joypad's coverage of E3 2016. I'm Scott Davidson, and let's get to it. We have just watched the EA conference. Now, there wasn't a hell of a lot there, if we're going to be quite frank, but let's start with what there was. Now, the conference kicked off with Titanfall 2. Now, we learned that Titanfall 2 is going to come to Xbox One, PS4 and PC, and it's coming out on October 28th. There is going to be a single player campaign. Now, we knew this already. There was a trailer that leaked for the single player earlier on today, before the conference, if you caught it. The gameplay that we saw, there were two different trailers. There was the single player trailer and the multiplayer trailer. Multiplayer looks to be largely what we know from Titanfall. Fast-paced, frantic, free-running action. It does look like there have been some changes. There's some new weapons. We know that there's going to be 6 new Titans, and we're promised more customization than we've had before. So that should be an interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out. One of the weapons that we saw, it was a Titan weapon, and it was a big freaking death laser. You can't go wrong with a death laser. The single player campaign, I'm actually kind of optimistic about it. I think it looks quite good. It seems to be an actual story that's getting told. It looks like it's almost going to be a sort of buddy story. It'll be interesting to see how that actually progresses and how deep that actually goes, or if it is just a tacked on addition. Of course, the lack of single player, lack of offline content was a big talking point for Titanfall. So maybe Respawn have listened. We'll find out in October, I suppose. We then went on to Madden 17. Now, we learned about a bunch of events. There's 3 types of events. There's Challenge, Premier, and Major. Challenge will be mostly player-run leagues and competitions, and the other 2 will be run by EA, the latter being very, very big on a global basis. We're told that the gameplay is going to be balanced, that there's going to be a new commentary system in place, and there will be a £1 million prize for the winners of the upcoming Madden 17 Championship. So if you're into esports, that's one that I think you're going to have to keep an eye on. And then we saw a tiny snippet from Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, Mass Effect Andromeda, they've been really cagey about showing us much. We did find out that in this new galaxy that you go into, you are the alien. You go into this already existing world, but you don't know anything about it. So I think that'll be a nice dynamic to get to, rather than just having codex entries that pop up when you meet a certain race. I think it'll be good as an explorative measure. The snippets of gameplay that we did see were, they were so super pretty. They looked great. I am always dubious when it comes to trailers, though, because who knows if that's what the game's going to be like. It is going to run on the Frostbite engine, which is a good engine, so there is hope that it's not going to be too far off. We saw some motion capture gameplay a little bit with the Myco, but all in all, there wasn't a lot that was shared. EA also announced that there's going to be 20 games through the EA Access Vault that players will get to get their hands with for free. And in those games, there's going to be challenges. Now, this is a feature that I think is a fantastic gesture by EA. They're going to launch this initiative called Play to Give. So basically, if players complete these challenges, EA will actually give money to a number of charities. I think that's great. I think it's a great way to not just reward the player by giving them challenging things, but also do a little bit of good. I think there's not enough of that in the gaming industry, so that is a very good move by EA's part. On to FIFA 17. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, I watched the conference. We were introduced to The Journey, which is going to be a new player experience, which has got some off-the-pitch sort of content. I'm still not entirely sure how that's going to go together. I don't know if you'll have dialogue options during press conferences, or if you can go to a pub and go home with 5 women and snort a whole bunch of cocaine. I don't know how it's going to work. They didn't give you a whole lot of information on that. But they have added 20 real-life managers to the game. So if you're into your manager careers, that I think might be something to maybe bring you back to FIFA 17. They've upgraded 4 different aspects. They've rewritten the set pieces. They have overhauled the physical play. They have improved the AI, which is a big problem when you play FIFA, and they've created new chances and finishes, so you'll have more control over those tricky shots in the box. They then went on to talk about EA Originals. Now this is similar, I would say, to the idea Xbox. What EA are planning to do is support smaller developer teams with innovative ideas, unique games. Now the very good thing that EA are doing with this is they're going to provide funding, they're going to provide a level of stability for the developers, and they're insistent that any money that's made through the sale of these games, 100% of that will go to the developers, and EA won't actually take a cut. EA have money to burn. It's not going to make a lot of difference to them, but I think that could be a really good move for the indie developers. I reckon that's a win as far as it goes. On the back of this, we did see a game called Fee. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It had more than a hint of Ori and the Blind Forest to it. You play as this little cub. It's a game without words, basically. Everything in the environment, from the creatures to the plants and fauna, they create music. And you interact with the music. You have to learn to listen to it. And that's how you actually connect with the environment. It does look quite interesting. It does look pretty. It's got to be said. I think, though, from the snippet of gameplay that we saw, there's not really a lot to go on, but it will be one to watch. And then we move on to Star Wars. Now, EA in previous conferences have had a tendency to talk about Star Wars a lot, but not actually show us anything. And true to form, that's exactly what they did. So they mentioned Galaxy of Heroes, The Old Republic, Battlefront 2. They did also mention in 2018 we can expect a new action game with new characters and an original story, and they briefly mentioned that Respawn were working on a third-person action title for Star Wars. We didn't really see anything of it. The video that they showed us with people at billboards, and it was kind of a pointless endeavour. So that was a bit of a wet squib, to be honest with you. And of course, they ended it with Battlefield 1. They showed us a little bit of gameplay during the conference. They explained that there's going to be a more natural destruction with this game. They've spoken about dynamic weather, the super heavy vehicles that you'll get, the Behemoth, which is the Zeppelin airship. They mentioned an armoured train as well as battleships, so land, sea or air. You're going to have something with a lot of punch. With all of these aspects combined, they've promised that no 2 games will ever be the same. I reckon, realistically, with the amount of people that play Battlefield, there will be one optimal way to play it, and that's how everyone will do it. I don't think there's going to be as much variety a couple of months after launch that DICE possibly think that there is. Now, of course, that's coming out on October 21st. We did also, after the conference, if you stuck around, they did have an hour of multiplayer gameplay, which it was kind of interesting. To be honest, I don't feel it gave a true representation of what we're likely to see in the multiplayer, but the game is still in development. Of course it's not. So I would like to wait until I see some actual single player content, some campaign content, because that's the content that's going to have the most polish. That's the most cinematic experience, and I think that is when we can truly judge it. But of course, multiplayer is what the franchise has been built on, so I can completely understand them taking the approach of having an hour of gameplay just for the multiplayer. From the clips that we saw, the graphics did look really nice. There was, splashes of dirt and mud going on to the camera as you ran through explosions. Fire and explosions looked stunningly beautiful, and the air combat did, I have to admit, did look pretty sweet. I've been saying since the trailer that I was really doubtful the gameplay would look like the trailer because it was all CG. But it's looking like I might have to eat those words. And I'm okay with that. If that's the way it goes down, I'm okay with it. But that was your E3 roundup, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Scott Davidson. Make sure that you stay tuned for more E3 details at Mouse and Joypad.